Stop for a moment, because what you are about to understand will change the way you carry yourself, the way people treat you, and the way life responds to your energy. You are about to learn one of the most misunderstood psychological truths Machiavelli ever observed. A truth that goes against everything society teaches you. A truth that explains why you give so much yet receive so little. Why you try so hard yet feel unnoticed. Why you care deeply yet feel unappreciated. And the truth is simple. The moment you stop caring, everything begins to come to you. Not because caring is wrong, not because effort is unnecessary, not because kindness is weakness, but because caring too much destroys your self-worth. It makes you chase instead of attract. It makes you explain instead of enforce. It makes you hope instead of choose. And the moment your worth becomes tied to outcome or approval, you lose your power. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology. He observed rulers who cared too much about public opinion lose their influence. Leaders who cared too much about being loved lose their authority. Men and women who cared too much about acceptance lose their identity. Caring too much makes you predictable. And predictable people are easy to manipulate. Caring too much makes you emotionally available. And emotionally available people are easy to use. Caring too much makes you desperate for validation. And desperation destroys respect. But the moment you stop caring in the unhealthy way, the moment you detach from the need to be chosen, the need to be liked, the need to be understood, something powerful happens. Your energy changes, your presence changes, your tone changes, your decisions change. You no longer negotiate your worth. You no longer beg for effort. You no longer tolerate disrespect. You no longer participate in situations that shrink you. You no longer explain yourself to people who pretend not to hear you. You begin to move with a calm confidence that others can feel even if you say nothing. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said that the person who stands alone stands tallest. Because when you stop caring about external validation, you start caring about yourself, about your peace, about your boundaries, about your standards, about your future. And this shift is magnetic. People feel it without you announcing it. People sense it without you explaining it. People respect it without you demanding it. You become harder to read, harder to access, harder to manipulate, harder to underestimate, and life begins to align with your new energy. Opportunities come to you because you are no longer desperate for them. Relationships become healthier because you no longer chase unhealthy ones. People treat you better because your tolerance for disrespect has disappeared. Your mind becomes clearer because your emotions no longer decide your worth. This detachment is not indifference, it is strength. It is the strength of someone who finally understands their value. Someone who no longer trades their worth for attention. Someone who no longer breaks themselves to keep others comfortable. Someone who no longer measures their identity through the eyes of people who don't even know themselves. Detachment is the moment you realize that caring too much was the chain, and letting go is the key. And Machiavelli believed that the person who holds the key to their own self-worth becomes untouchable. Because when you stop caring excessively, you stop reacting impulsively. You stop fearing rejection. You stop seeking validation. You stop being emotionally predictable. And this creates self-respect. And self-respect creates external respect. People start treating you the way you treat yourself. When you value your time, others value it too. When you defend your boundaries, others adjust to them. When you walk away from disrespect, others stop offering it. When you speak less but act more, others listen carefully. When you focus on your growth instead of pleasing others, the right people move closer, and the wrong people disappear. This is the moment life begins to align with your worth, because you have stopped chasing what was beneath you, and now what matches you begins moving toward you. Machiavelli often wrote that people admire strength more than kindness and respect independence more than availability, and he was not encouraging cruelty. He was revealing human nature. The world moves differently when you stop caring in the emotional sense and start caring in the strategic one. And this is where your transformation begins. Because the next stage is not just detachment. It is learning how detachment actually increases attraction, respect, opportunity, and influence. And once you understand why, you will never again let desperation decide your worth. And now that you understand the moment you stop caring is the moment you start reclaiming your worth, you must learn why this shift changes everything around you. Because this transformation does not happen by magic. It happens through deep psychological principles that Machiavelli observed again and again in human behavior. The first principle is simple. People value what is not easily available. When you care too much, you become too accessible, too predictable, too attached, too emotionally open. And availability lowers perceived value. People respect what they cannot immediately have. People admire what they cannot fully understand. People are drawn to what they cannot easily influence. Machiavelli noted that rulers who were always available were quickly taken for granted, while those who remained selective were treated with reverence. The person who stops caring excessively becomes selective. This selectiveness creates psychological distance, and distance creates value. The second principle is emotional equilibrium. When you stop caring about how people interpret your worth, your emotional reactions begin to stabilize. You no longer respond instantly. You no longer chase after attention. You no longer panic when someone pulls away. You no longer collapse when someone disapproves of you. And emotional stability is deeply respected because it is deeply rare. Most people are emotionally chaotic. They rush when they feel fear. They cling when they feel insecure. They explode when they feel hurt. They overthink when they feel ignored. But when you move in the opposite way, when someone pulls away and you remain calm, when someone disrespects you and you detach instead of fighting, when someone challenges you and you hold your ground, your emotional stillness creates a psychological elevation. People begin to realize they cannot shake you, and respect grows from that realization. The third principle is the power of non-neediness. Neediness weakens your presence instantly. It makes your energy small. It makes your actions desperate. It makes your decisions emotional. But when you stop caring about the outcome, your neediness evaporates. You begin to move differently. You communicate differently. You carry yourself differently. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop convincing. You stop seeking reassurance. And your energy becomes self-contained. This energy is attractive, magnetic, commanding, because it communicates something powerful. It says you are whole on your own. You are stable on your own. You are complete on your own. And Machiavelli understood that the person who needs less holds more power in every interaction. The fourth principle is psychological reversal. When you stop caring, people begin caring more, because human nature is wired to chase what withdraws and ignore what chases. When you were giving too much, people expected it. When you were always available, people assumed it. When you were eager to fix things, people relied on it. When you were quick to forgive, people exploited it. But now your silence makes people talk. Your distance makes people rethink their choices. Your calmness makes them uncomfortable. Your indifference makes them curious. And your self-worth makes them regret ever underestimating you. Machiavelli wrote that humans value what can be lost, and your detachment suddenly makes them realize they could lose you, and that fear increases their respect. The fifth principle is the collapse of manipulation. Manipulation survives on emotional reaction. But when you stop caring, manipulators lose their script. When you do not chase, guilt fails. When you do not react, provocation fails. When you do not seek approval, gaslighting fails. When you no longer fear distance, control fails, and the person trying to manipulate you begins to feel powerless. Machiavelli believed that the easiest person to control is the one who fears loss. And the hardest person to control is the one who does not. The sixth principle is increased mental clarity. Caring too much clouds your judgment. You make decisions out of fear instead of logic, out of insecurity instead of strategy, out of panic instead of patience. But when you detach, your mind becomes clearer. You see people as they are, not as you wish them to be. You recognize patterns faster. You sense intentions sooner. You understand motives deeply. You stop making excuses for people who clearly show you their truth. And clarity gives you power because you can now navigate relationships, business, and life without emotional fog. Machiavelli observed that clarity was the foundation of strategy, and detachment was the foundation of clarity. The seventh principle is the restoration of self-respect. Every time you cared too much, you lowered your standards a little. You tolerated something you shouldn't have. You accepted behavior that hurt you. You allowed disrespect that wounded your dignity. You tried to keep people who were not trying to keep you. And each time your self-respect cracked a little more. But when you stop caring in the unhealthy way, your standards rise again. Your boundaries strengthen. Your self-respect returns. And self-respect changes your entire aura. People treat you differently when you treat yourself differently. People speak to you differently when you speak to yourself differently. People value your time more when you value it fiercely. And Machiavelli believed that the ruler who respected himself commanded respect effortlessly from others. The eighth principle is emotional freedom. When you stop caring excessively, you stop living under the emotional control of others. You stop being affected by their moods. You stop internalizing their criticism. You stop fearing their rejection. You stop carrying their expectations. You become emotionally independent. And emotional independence is the highest form of freedom, because no one can disturb what they do not control. Machiavelli believed that internal freedom was the only true protection from external chaos. And now that you understand these principles, the next stage of your transformation begins. Because stopping unhealthy caring is only the first step. The real power appears when you learn how to build a life, mindset, presence, and identity that naturally attracts everything you once chased. And now that you understand why detachment increases attraction, respect, and opportunity, you must learn how to build the inner foundation that makes this detachment feel natural instead of forced. Because pretending not to care is weakness. Truly not caring in the unhealthy sense is power. Pretending not to care is fear dressed as confidence. Truly not caring is confidence dressed as calmness. Pretending not to care is emotional performance. Truly not caring is emotional mastery. And Machiavelli understood this difference deeply. He believed that the strongest people in any society were those who had built their worth internally, not through attention, not through validation, not through opinions, but through identity, through discipline, through self-respect, through inner certainty. Because once your worth is rooted inside you, nothing outside you can shake it. And this inner worth begins with the first internal principle. You must become someone who does not negotiate their self-value. Most people tie their worth to someone's reaction, someone's approval, someone's interest, someone's validation, someone's attention, and this creates emotional instability, because their worth rises and falls based on how others treat them. But when you stop caring about external measurement, your worth becomes internal. You decide your value, you choose your standard, you set your price. Machiavelli wrote that the person who allows the world to define his value becomes a servant to the world. But the person who defines his own value becomes a ruler in any environment. The second internal principle is emotional detachment from outcomes. Caring too much about how things turn out creates pressure. Pressure creates fear. Fear creates overthinking. Overthinking creates emotional decisions, and emotional decisions destroy your power. But when you detach from the outcome, you approach life with a calm mind. You stop forcing things. You stop chasing results. You stop trying to control what cannot be controlled. You give your best and release the rest. This mindset makes you more effective, more attractive, more strategic. Because a relaxed mind chooses better, and a calm mind sees further. Machiavelli believed that those who detach from outcomes gain advantage because they think clearer than their opponents. The third internal principle is identity separation. This means you stop tying your identity to relationships, roles, titles, achievements, or failures. You stop defining yourself by who stays or who leaves. You stop defining yourself by what people think about you. You stop defining yourself by how well people treat you. You separate who you are from what happens to you. This creates emotional invincibility. Because once your identity is not tied to external approval, nothing external can destroy it. Machiavelli saw that rulers who tied their self-worth to public opinion became desperate to please the crowd. But rulers who built identity from within remained unshaken. The fourth internal principle is self-control. Self-control is not about suppressing feelings. It is about choosing your response instead of surrendering to emotion. It is about pausing before speaking, thinking before reacting, observing before concluding. And this internal discipline creates an aura of power because people feel your restraint, they feel your centeredness, they feel your steadiness, they feel your patience. And patience is intimidating because it signals that you are not controlled by impulse. Machiavelli believed that the disciplined man has already defeated the emotional man before the battle begins. The fifth internal principle is emotional economy. Emotional economy means spending your emotional energy only where it is returned, only where it is valued, only where it is respected. You stop pouring your energy into bottomless people, into draining conversations, into one-sided relationships, into situations that do not improve your life. You protect your energy as if it were gold, because it is. And when you stop spending emotion on those who have not earned it, your value rises instantly. Machiavelli understood that people respect those who give sparsely but give meaningfully. The sixth internal principle is the cultivation of solitude. Solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is internal alignment. It is the ability to enjoy your own company, to reflect, to think, to grow, to breathe, to reset, to regain emotional clarity. People who cannot be alone cling to others. People who cannot be alone tolerate disrespect. People who cannot be alone seek constant reassurance. But people who master solitude become emotionally untouchable, because their peace does not depend on the presence of anyone. Machiavelli wrote that solitude strengthens leaders because it clears the mind from emotional noise. The seventh internal principle is selective vulnerability. When you care too much, you expose yourself to everyone. You share too much. You open too fast. You reveal insecurities to people who don't deserve access. But when you become selective, your vulnerability becomes powerful, because only those who have earned your trust see your softness. Everyone else sees your strength only, and this duality creates balance. Machiavelli believed that the strongest rulers showed vulnerability only to their most trusted allies and never to the crowd. The eighth internal principle is emotional self-sufficiency. Emotional self-sufficiency means you can comfort yourself, motivate yourself, reassure yourself, redirect yourself. You don't need someone to validate your feelings. You don't need someone to make you feel worthy. You don't need someone to make you feel secure. You give these things to yourself, and that makes you dangerous in the best way. Because when no one has emotional power over you, no one can destabilize you. Machiavelli believed that internal self-support was one of the greatest forms of strategic independence. And now that you understand these internal principles, you are ready for the next stage of your transformation. Because the moment you stop caring in the unhealthy way is the moment you shift from emotional dependence to emotional dominance. But the next step is learning what happens in the external world when this transformation takes place. Because when you stop caring, the world begins to behave very differently around you. And understanding that shift is the key to reclaiming your full self-worth. And now that you understand the internal transformation that happens the moment you stop caring in the unhealthy way, you must learn what happens outside of you. Because the external world responds instantly to internal shifts. People sense it. People feel it. People react to it even if they can't explain why. Machiavelli believed that humans are wired to test each other continuously, often without knowing they're doing it. They test for boundaries. They test for neediness. They test for insecurity. They test for emotional weakness. They test for desperation. And for most of your life, caring too much made you fail these tests, not because you were weak, but because you believed the more you cared, the more others would. But now, your detachment rewrites the script. The first external shift is that people begin treating you with more respect. Respect does not come from kindness, not from approval, not from giving more. Respect comes from psychological distance. The moment you stop caring about pleasing everyone, people start watching their behavior around you. They adjust their tone. They choose their words carefully. They stop assuming you will tolerate disrespect. They stop expecting emotional labor from you. And they treat you like someone with internal authority. Machiavelli observed that the less a ruler begged for loyalty, the more loyalty he received. The same is true for you. The second external shift is that people begin competing for your attention. When you cared too much, your attention was cheap, easy to obtain, easy to manipulate, easy to waste. But now your attention is selective, controlled, intentional, and when something becomes scarce, it becomes valued. People start chasing your approval. People put effort into conversations with you. People try to impress you instead of expecting you to impress them. Your energy becomes a prize. Machiavelli knew that human desire grows when access decreases, and now that you care less, your value rises effortlessly. The third external shift is that manipulators lose their power. Manipulation thrives on emotional reaction. It thrives on guilt, on fear, on insecurity, on the need for approval. But once you stop caring excessively, manipulators no longer know how to control you. Their guilt trips fall flat. Their silent treatment backfires. Their emotional pressure loses its effect. Their mind games collapse because the game only works on someone who responds. Machiavelli believed that the hardest person to control was the one who feared nothing, not even distance. And now you become that person. The fourth external shift is that opportunities begin to come to you. Desperation repels opportunities. Calmness attracts them. When you stop caring about forcing outcomes, life begins aligning with you in surprising ways. Better relationships appear. Better decisions become clear. Better paths open naturally, because you are no longer acting from fear or scarcity. You are acting from worth, and worth creates momentum. Machiavelli understood that power attracts power and self-worth attracts opportunities. The fifth external shift is clearer relationships. When you stop caring too much, people reveal who they truly are. The ones who valued you for your availability disappear. The ones who used you for your emotional labor fade away. The ones who stayed because they could manipulate you lose interest. But the ones who genuinely respect you, support you, and value you remain. Detachment exposes truth. Machiavelli believed that pressure exposes loyalty, and detachment is a psychological pressure. It forces the relationship to reveal its true nature. The sixth external shift is increased influence. Influence does not come from chasing approval. Influence comes from inner stability. The more calm you become, the more people listen. The more patient you become, the more people follow your pace. The more disciplined you become, the more people adjust their behavior. The more silent you become, the more weight your words carry. Machiavelli wrote that influence belongs to those who can move others without speaking, and your detachment creates that effect naturally. The seventh external shift is that your absence begins to matter. When you cared too much, your absence meant nothing, because people assumed you would return. They assumed you would try again. They assumed you would fix things. They assumed you would chase. But now your absence creates discomfort. It creates curiosity. It creates reflection. People begin wondering why you're quiet, why you're distant, why you're unbothered, why you're not reacting. And they begin realizing what life feels like without your emotional effort. Machiavelli believed that absence increases respect more than presence when used strategically. And your new detachment uses absence with intention. The eighth external shift is increased compliance. People behave better around you, not out of fear, but out of respect for your boundaries, out of awareness that you are capable of walking away quietly, out of understanding that your tolerance for nonsense has evaporated. Machiavelli believed that humans regulate their behavior based on perceived consequences. And your consequence is distance, silent distance, final distance. The ninth external shift is that you begin receiving energy equal to what you give. When you cared too much, you were giving 100% and receiving 10. Now you give slowly, you give carefully, you give with observation, you give based on alignment, not emotion. And suddenly people start matching your effort because your energy is no longer free. Free energy is taken for granted. Selective energy is respected. And this is something Machiavelli understood instinctively. The 10th external shift is that your life begins to feel lighter because emotional overcaring is heavy. It drains you, it clouds you, it breaks your clarity, it collapses your boundaries, but detachment frees you. Your mind becomes quieter, your decisions become easier, your relationships become healthier, your days become calmer. And calmness is the soil where self-worth grows strongest. And now that you understand how the external world shifts when you stop caring excessively, you are ready for the next stage. Because the next part reveals how to use this transformation to rebuild your identity from the ground up. Not just who you are, but how you think, how you move, how you speak, how you carry yourself, how you choose relationships, how you choose opportunities, and how you create a life that comes toward you naturally without force and without ever lowering your worth again. And now that you understand how the external world shifts the moment you stop caring in the unhealthy way, you are ready for the final transformation. The transformation where this mindset becomes your identity, your daily operating system, your natural state of being. Because detachment is not a trick. It is not a temporary adjustment. It is not a performance you maintain for a few days. It is a psychological rebirth, a new way of living where your self-worth becomes the center of your gravity. And the first step in this final stage is learning to rebuild yourself through internal authority. Internal authority means you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop doubting your decisions. You stop second-guessing your value. You stop apologizing for your boundaries. You stop seeking permission for your preferences. You stop explaining your standards to people who have no intention of meeting them. You stand firm in your decisions because they come from your identity, not your fear. Machiavelli believed that a ruler who doubted himself invited doubt from others, but a ruler who believed in his decisions created certainty, and certainty creates respect. The second step is mastering identity-based choices. Identity-based choices mean you no longer choose based on emotion or insecurity. You choose based on who you want to be. You choose based on your future self, not your wounded self. You choose based on your standards, not your fears. When someone disrespects you, you do not react emotionally. You ask yourself, would the person I want to become tolerate this? And the answer leads your decision. This removes the emotional chaos that once dictated your actions. Machiavelli believed that identity-based leadership made rulers unstoppable because their decisions came from principle, not emotion. The third step is establishing emotional boundaries so strong that even your past self cannot cross them. You no longer rescue people who refuse to rescue themselves. You no longer fight for people who would not fight for you. You no longer argue with people committed to misunderstanding you. You no longer pour yourself into empty spaces. You no longer explain your worth to those who are blind to it. You finally choose peace over people. Machiavelli understood that a leader's worst enemy was emotional entanglement with the wrong individuals, and the same is true for you. The fourth step is embracing the power of selective connection. Selective connection means you decide who gets access to your energy, who gets your time, who gets your emotional presence, who gets your vulnerability, who gets your loyalty. You choose slowly, carefully, intentionally. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves a place in your world. Not everyone deserves the emotional effort you once gave so freely. Machiavelli knew that alliances based on selectiveness created strength, while alliances based on desperation created weakness. The fifth step is mastering the art of detached ambition. Detached ambition means you give your best but do not let the outcome define you. You pursue goals with intensity, but you detach from whether they succeed or fail. You make plans but remain flexible. You take action but release expectations. You move forward without forcing life to obey your timeline. Detached ambition makes you unstoppable because failure no longer destroys you and success no longer controls you. Machiavelli believed that the most strategic minds were those who stayed calm in victory and resilient in defeat. The sixth step is cultivating an aura of emotional independence. Emotional independence means you no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer cling to relationships for validation. You no longer fear being alone. You no longer tie your stability to how others treat you. You become a complete emotional ecosystem, self-powered, self-driven, self-respected, and people feel this. They sense that you do not need them, and paradoxically, that is what makes them want to stay. Machiavelli observed that humans are drawn to independence because independence signals strength. The seventh step is adopting unbreakable standards. Unbreakable standards are the invisible laws you live by. How you expect to be spoken to, how you expect to be treated, how you expect to be valued. You do not lower these standards for anyone, not for love, not for fear, not for loneliness, not for temporary comfort. You rise to your standards and require others to do the same. Machiavelli believed that a leader without standards created chaos, while a leader with firm standards created order. And the final step in this transformation is the realization that self-worth is not something you find. It is something you decide. It is something you choose daily. It is something you defend, something you nurture, something you refuse to trade for small moments of validation. The moment you stop caring in the excessive, self-destructive way is the moment you finally start caring about yourself in the right way. And when your self-worth becomes unshakable, life shifts permanently. People treat you differently, opportunities align differently, relationships evolve differently, conflict affects you differently, decisions feel different. You no longer chase, you attract, you no longer beg, you choose, you no longer break, you bend, you no longer tolerate disrespect. You remove yourself quietly. You no longer fear losing people, you fear losing yourself. And this is the moment everything comes to you, because the world respects the person who respects themselves first. The world follows the person who follows their own standards. The world aligns with the person who aligns with their own worth. Machiavelli understood that the greatest power is not political power, not social power, not physical power. It is the power to remain whole in a world that constantly tries to divide you from yourself. And now you carry that power, the power of not caring destructively, the power of caring selectively, the power of caring strategically, the power of caring about yourself above all else. Because when you stop caring in the wrong way, everything you deserve begins to come toward you in the right way. And that is Machiavelli's final lesson on self-worth. Your value increases the moment you no longer negotiate it.